Time to start a new day. Just like any other, there's a lot of work to be done and lots of animals to care for. It all starts by feeding these guys, Augie and Vidalia, my 2 leopard geckos. Vidalia's the friendliest and looks at you funny. Augie's the male and sassy and bites sometimes. Leopard geckos are native to India, Iran, Pakistan, and Afghanistan. Because they're nocturnal, they're usually awake while I'm sleeping.
Give me a little Kreia.
Kreia is a crested gecko. She's a little shy and jumps sometimes. I got her whenever she was very little, about 1.5 inches. It's been fun to watch her grow to 3 inches now. A lot of kids my age have animals to feed, but when you grow up in a zoo, taking care of a few pets is nothing compared to taking care of a whole zoo full of hungry animals. Speaking of hungry, it's time to get downstairs for breakfast.
Should we get the Raisin Bran out?
This is my dad, Mark Bradley. Don't tell him I said this, he's pretty awesome. He was a United States Marine and got to serve in the Baltic region, where the former Soviet Union was. He was also sent to the Middle East and got to live lots of adventures while fighting for our freedom. When he was 38, he decided to have me. He went to med school and then started medical practices. What I like best about Mom and Dad is they take time out of their day to take me to rodeos or something special. We get to spend a lot of time together. I guess I'd call him a manly man. I mean, he does own his own zoo, so he is tough as nails. And you know, he would even fight a tiger if it was after me. See, he really is an awesome dad. Whenever we have breakfast, Elvis starts singing. Elvis is a cotton-top tamarin. He vocalizes because he wants to remind us it's time for his breakfast too. He likes to eat fruit and monkey biscuits. For a special treat, he gets a few Fruit Loops. Genetic inbreeding can be a big problem in zoos, so that's why he's here in the house, to separate him from the rest of his troop. When it's time, he'll be introduced to a new group, so he can start a completely new genetic line. By the way, Elvis isn't the only one who likes cereal for breakfast.
Oh, is that too much?
That's all right. Maybe.
Tell me when to move.
Well,
Right, real quick.
the only thought I think you can do things to all of us is fit our bodies on men.
Speedy fast.
Hungry.
So, what about my mom, you ask? As it turns out, she's pretty amazing too. Her name is Elaine. She owns her own medical clinic. And in her spare time, she helps around the zoo. From feeding animals, to helping build enclosures, to, well, washing monkey blankets for our newborn baby monkey nursery. What's that, you ask?
Much like a newborn baby nursery, it's a newborn monkey baby nursery, so similar to that.
So we need to see if we can try to find a place for the honey badgers.
Yes.
To build their new exhibit in the zoo.
Right.
We're gonna find a place to do that.
In case you haven't guessed, I'm a homeschooler, which is really awesome because it means I can dedicate way more time to the zoo once I finish my school. I usually do my schoolwork in the gift shop, but today, we're doing some of it right here at the table.
Where do Fusas live?
I don't remember.
Where are all the lemurs from?
Madagascar.
All right, so Fusa.
So Madagascar is right here.
There you go. It's off the coast of Australia.
You mean Africa? That's Africa.
Or Africa, yeah. It's way off the coast of Australia over
Yeah.
here. Good deal.
I learned the same stuff as most kids, reading, writing, and arithmetic. But growing up at a zoo, I learned things I would never learn otherwise. I feel God's giving me experiences to get me ready for the future. My dream is to someday become a veterinarian, maybe even come back and help my dad here at the zoo. Breakfast is done and we were even able to fit in a little geography. But for now, it's time to head out to the zoo.
One of the first things that we do in the mornings is get the giraffe out. That way he can be seen by all the visitors.
This is Emily. Just like me, she's always wanted to work at a zoo.
I've always had a love for animals, even as a small child. It's always been something that I knew that I wanted to do. It was just something when somebody asked you like what you want to do when you get older, I just said zookeeper because it sounded cool. I didn't think that it would actually happen. When I was little, people used to ask me what I wanted to be when I grew up, and I said a giraffe. So I got as close as I could to it.
So she didn't actually become a giraffe, but being a zookeeper, she actually gets to hang out with a pretty cool one.
So this is Tucker. He's our reticulated giraffe. They are an endangered species, so it's pretty cool that I get to work with him. They are very difficult to get a lot of times.
When I was just a baby, my parents got me a blanket stuffed giraffe named Tucker. So of course, when the real giraffe came to the zoo, I had to name him Tucker.
Come on, Tucker. Yep. Good boy. There you go.
And with Tucker out of his enclosure, another day begins at the zoo. Soon, our guests will be buying tickets to feed him up on our observation deck. Speaking of feeding animals, I need to do a little of my own. We'll start in the feed room. Our fresh fruits and vegetables come from the same wholesalers that sell to farmers markets and grocery stores. Our pallets of feed come from companies like Purina and Missouri. Right now, I'm fixing some fruit for the lemurs. We have 4 different species of lemurs here at the zoo, but the 2 different species of rough lemurs are the largest. My family built these enclosures specifically to meet their needs. Alpafron lemurs are from a little cooler region and normally have less sun. Rough lemurs are from a higher altitude in Madagascar, where the sun filters through the tree canopy. And these ringtails love to sunbathe, so this exhibit is facing the sun, especially in the morning.
One of my favorite things about these guys is when it's sunny outside, they will sit in almost a yoga position with their arms spread out and their bellies up and just soak up the sun. Keeps their underside warm. It's the cutest thing.
Like Dad and I were discussing at breakfast, lemurs come from the island of Madagascar. There's currently over 100 species of lemurs.
These guys on their tails, they have exactly 13 stripes, the black stripes that they have. And when they walk around in groups, they will hold them up like a flag. That way they can keep track of where they are so they don't lose each other.
In the zoo, these guys eat formulated monkey biscuits. Throughout the day, they get fruits and vegetables and things like that, but their favorite are grapes.
I would feed them whenever I was really little. I used to feed them bananas. I'd feed them whenever I was really little, so I've fed them since my whole life.
As you can tell, the females rule the roost here. There's only one dominant female that has the babies, and that's the female right there with the baby.
She has one baby once a year, so we always have a baby running around here. They usually are born in the spring sometime.
Of course, someday, the others will have babies too. You can see how tightly the babies cling to their mothers. In the wild, their mothers would be climbing up a tree. These guys have a lot of strength. Meanwhile, over at the giraffe's enclosure, people are gathering, getting ready to feed Tucker.
My name's Megan. I'm going to be doing the giraffe feeding with you today. I do have a few simple rules, though, to go over with you. First and foremost, I need those tickets ready. I will be taking those up as you come up.
Megan Walsworth is great with the guests. Probably one of the reasons is she understands how a zoo can change someone's life.
So I actually went to Knoxville Zoo with my family and my girls, and while I was there, I was looking at the tiger exhibit and was like, man, I could totally do this. So when I came home, I looked it up, the local zoos in my area, and found Creation Kingdom Zoo. And from there, I reached out to find out if they had any volunteer opportunities or hiring opportunities, and they did. So here I am.
Kind of like that.
And now Megan's helping others experience the joy of interacting with animals here at our zoo.
We've got carrots and stuff for Tucker, so you could pay to come up here and feed Tucker, which I think is an amazing opportunity to actually be around him and get to see him up close.
When Tucker was just a baby, I used to give him a bottle. Feeding him is such a special time for me. Now, we get to share this experience with our guests. They get to see that same cute face and fun expressions that Tucker makes as they hand him treats.
Tucker is a sweetheart. I love him. I love to feed him out of my mouth, especially. Holding a carrot out of my mouth is really fun.
Believe it or not, Tucker was 6 feet and 1 inch whenever he was born and weighed 185 pounds. He now stands 17 feet tall and weighs about 3,500 pounds. His feet are the size of dinner plates.
Tucker is about 5 years old. He's entering like the teenage years.
Tucker was purchased from another zoo that we do conservation work with. It's good we got him whenever he was young. It's best to transport them and to introduce them to a new exhibit when they're still babies. Because giraffes have monocular vision, they can't see the fence very well. If Tucker had been an adult whenever we brought him here, he could have just ran into fences. But because baby giraffes are dependent on zookeepers, we can help them know their enclosure.
They use their tongue a lot to get like the leaves in the top tree. So as you see, he can stick it out, kind of use it like an extra digit. And then they'll just grab the leaves or the branches and pull it to them so that they can eat it all up.
I want people to see creation for what it is. I want them to be able to look at a giraffe and to see that, my goodness, it's that long neck. If it bends over, common sense would tell me it's going to pass out and all the blood's going to run to its head. But then, you know, my keepers are able to talk about the valves in the neck that close the vessels off so that when they lean forward to get water, all that blood doesn't rush to their head. I think common sense tells us that couldn't be evolution. How many giraffes did we lose before the valves grew in?
Tucker's a great example of God's design.
A lot of people ask us about the horns on top of his head. Those are his ossicones. They use those, like with males, they will use their heads and sling them around when they're fighting, and they'll use those horns, not horns, those ossicones on top to essentially almost like a horn, but it's not really a horn or antler.